On today's episode of Locked On 76ers, Keith and I discuss the 76ers in the case of have they brought the excitement level back to the fan base. Many times you say after a devastating loss in the season's end, I'm out. Are you back in? We talk about why they may have restored your faith. Next, right here, Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, you are Locked On 76ers. I'm Devon Givens from 97.5 The Fanatic in Philadelphia, alongside my co-host and partner, Keith Pompey, the Inquirer.com Sixers beat writer. What's going on, Keith?
What's poppin', D? How you been, man?
Oh, man. It's cooled down here in Philadelphia a little bit.
I know, right?
Did you get that quick 5 minutes of rain yesterday?
No, it was quick, right? But it's funny how just a quick 5 minutes could cool everything down, right?
Yeah. You know what it reminded me of? Las Vegas rain. A quick 5-minute rainstorm and then done.
Yep.
That's exactly what it reminded me of. Well, we thank everybody for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. And remember, Locked On 76ers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts on all platforms, including YouTube right here, Locked On 76ers. Well, Keith, with the season, how many days away is it now?
Well, the regular,
the
training camp is like 63 days away.
63 days away for camp.
Yeah.
All right. So with the camp starting in 63 days, so I guess 62 days would be for media day. Wanted to talk about, because I know you have to do a lot of writing on this stuff and with the radio side for me, and then us coming here and discussing it. A lot of times I see where people say, all right, the Sixers have pulled me back in. I tried to step away. I don't know if it's just for the summer, whatever it is that they mean, but they say they try to step away, but they pull me back in. So basically, they're okay, majority of people, with the offseason and what they've done. So with that, I wanted to ask you about, based on what you've been reading from your people on Twitter and the comments that you get from your stories, of how people, do you feel like the 76ers have pulled fans back in after yet another tough defeat, exiting in the second round?
I'm sorry for cutting you off. Yeah, I do. And it's not just them. Like the excitement level also pulled me in, so to speak. And what I mean is, I'm not like a fan saying, "Yeah, I want to see what they, like I hope they do this and do that." Nah, I'm intrigued. Like I believe that when you picked up the moves that they got and they got tougher, you just want to see what they can do against other teams. I mean, you look at James Harden and you're saying, okay, he's working out. Let me see if he's going to come back in tip-top shape. Let me see if these guys can mesh well. So when you factor that in, they're pulling people in. And then when you talk about the fans, of course, it's one of those things where everyone's like, whoa. And this is Philadelphia, where sometimes whenever we get a new acquisition or someone gets a new acquisition, is always like, whoa, look how great he is. And when you go on Twitter, all you see is highlights of PJ Tucker grabbing a rebound and like muscling his way to the basket or defending someone. So, I think that when they lost in the second round, everyone was ready to fire everyone besides trade everyone besides Joel and fire the coaching staff. Now those same people are talking about, this is the year, baby. This is the year.
And it's funny because when you see those highlights, it's PJ Tucker battling for rebounds, not necessarily hitting shots, right?
I know, right?
It's getting rebounds, getting putbacks, and things of that nature. It's nothing really exciting except for when he makes a play and he gets the crowd going into it. The teammates really feed off of that, and that's something that we haven't seen really from the 76er team. But I do too. I think that they have, again, pulled fans back in who were a little bit on the fence, if you will, of where the team was after another second round exit, by going out there and adding the players that they have, seemingly looking at James Harden in a different way because of what he did, because of the financial part of things, and seeing again then, for the ones who do really like the idea albeit 9 years away with this new arena. They're just doing little things to pull people back in. And you know what else is going to happen, Keith? Every time now with these new jerseys that come out, the city edition jerseys, as soon as we get another one of what that's going to look like, they're going to have the fans right back there in the palm of their hands as far as this basketball team goes. That's just how it goes. It is. And seeing those types of things. So, yeah, I do think that everything that they've done, for the most part, for a good majority of the fans, I would say 70, 80% of the fan base are really happy that they did something, and not just, oh, let's just go grab a player. Even when we keep talking about these are the Houston Rockets East now, but they're players that are going to help this basketball team and hopefully help them.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah. Now with that, I look at it and I say, because this is what I want to ask in the next segment. Part of it is the toughness word that we keep using when it comes to this basketball team. Is that overused? And is it overused with this basketball team? Let's get into that next, because I think it's an interesting case as far as a conversation piece, because I've heard people say we overuse the word toughness when it comes to playing basketball and what this team lacks. We'll get to that next right here on Locked On 76ers. But I got to tell you about Built Bar. If you haven't tried Built Bar's Puffs yet, you are depriving yourself. I've been telling you about them for months. One of yourself's the greatest joys. And guess what? There's a new flavor. Again, yes, ready, delicious, indulgent cookie dough covered in chocolate. That's right, Built. They've done it again. Let me introduce you to a new favorite, cookie dough chunk puffs. Have a light and chewy texture, real cookie dough chunks. And of course, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. All the joys of eating cookie dough. I've seen you take the cookie doughs in the past from those tubes and you snap them in half and you just start using your spoon to eat them. Well, you can do it now in the puffs form, and it's healthier for you. Cookie dough chunks puffs are safe, and they're only 160 calories, and they have a whopping 15 grams of protein. And run a Built.com, snag a box for you and the family. It will be a perfect treat. Or you can find a really good hiding place if you don't want to share them and just hoard them yourself. Why not? I do it. You should too. Like all Built Bar's new cookie dough chunk puff is covered in 100% real chocolate. That means they're healthy and tasty chocolate covered dough, cookie dough with a light, fluffy texture. So good. What's great about Built is that all of their bars are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently, and protein provides tons of health benefits. Eat something that tastes good and is good for you. So grab yourself a Built Bar. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order using promo code LOCKED15. Do it today, people. Do it today. Get your Built. Yes, hide them from the family if you don't want to share. I won't be mad at you if you decide to do that, because I certainly do it myself in my own home. Thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen. For your next listen, check out Locked On Now podcast for nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from our local experts. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Keith, the toughness part. Do you think that it's overused when we talk about the Sixers need to add more toughness? And before you answer, it's not just us. It's not just the fans. Doc Rivers said it at the end of the season. Joel Embiid said it at the end of the season, which prompted him to even say the word PJ Tucker after playing them. They have since acquired him, so we can talk about him a lot during the segment if you want. And it was mentioned while Rivers was sitting there with Daryl Morey about them getting toughness. And every time we hear about these now three players in Tucker, House, and Melton, we talk about toughness. Do you think it's overused, or when it's talked about, people are using it or using that energy of the conversation in the wrong way, where it's not just simply about fighting anybody, it's about the toughness in general out there on the floor?
Great question. I think is the toughness out there on the floor. I mean, let's face it, if you're going to be real, the Sixers were a soft basketball team last year. They've been a soft basketball team for a couple years. Like, since Jimmy Butler left, basically, right? I mean, there was times where I saw them get pushed around. I saw people come at them and no one really responded, So I think it's not overused. I think, like, I'm gonna give a prime example of a guy like Reggie Evans. A lot of people remember that Reggie Evans played for the Sixers. When you think of Reggie Evans, who Reggie Evans was, a guy, a 6'8", 245-pound power forward who played 13 years in the league. His career average was 4.1 points. In his 2 seasons with the Sixers, he averaged 4.3 points, right? As far as shooting the ball from the outside, Reggie had never shot a three. Reggie, as a Sixer, Reggie averaged 18.9 minutes per game. He played in 160 games with 68 starts. But I always looked at Reggie Evans and said, man, he's not that good. He's not that good until I saw him play. Until I saw him play in person. I saw how he intimidated other people, how guys would attack the Sixers star players, other guys. And then Reggie was on the team, and next thing you know, they let him go because they knew that they had a guy who was willing to do whatever he could to protect people. So from that aspect, when you look at the toughness, and now you have guys, it's going to make life easier for James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid. And I think there's a mentality when you go in there and guys aren't going to get away or going to try things when they know that you have a guy like a PJ Tucker, a Daniel House, and a DeAnthony Melton on the floor. So from that aspect, no, toughness is not overblown.
I don't either. There are often times where I'm like, all right, man, just go smack somebody. You see it in the game, and you're like, all right, let's take this technical and and pay this fine for the next day. You know what I'm saying? And just it is what it is, because you can see it too many times where it would seemingly feel like they were getting punked in certain games, and there needed to be something. There needed to be something that happened for you to stand up and go nose to nose with somebody, because we know the NBA game, they don't fight. So I'm not asking about that. It's just simply nose to nose with somebody, double text, we both get ejected, but maybe it lights a fire at that 4-minute mark of the third quarter when the Sixers need it, because they look a little stale, they look a little out of it. And the other team says, you know what, we got them. We got their heart. We already took it. But no, insert Mike Scott, where Mike Scott is just causing this fracas, and Jimmy Butler's like, yeah, I'm in this too. And now all of a sudden we got this little action going on that seems to be right. Nobody's really, you got people coming in trying to break it up and all that stuff. And you can also use the word when it comes to toughness in a different way. T.J. McConnell, I thought, was a tough little dude to play for this basketball team. And he brought some of that energy and that toughness to the team. He wasn't getting into any fight, but he didn't back down. And that's the key here. Now, in this case, you're going to have 3 guys that come in and that will, in fact, get a little dirty and get their fingernails dirty when it comes to Melton, House, and Tucker. But I think that the toughness part was real. They addressed it, and it was necessary for them to go out there and do it. And now I just simply can't wait, as we talk about the excitement level, to see how it may change, with those other guys. You can't force them to be something that they're not when it comes to us talking about toughness. I'm not going to name any names, we're just talking about the team in general. But knowing that you have those guys on your team, that's why they are there. You don't have to be that. That's why they are there. That's why they were brought in to help out in certain spots where it's called for them to necessarily look at it as, toughness type of spot. So I don't think it's overused. I think it's necessary. We saw it. We all saw it. And I'm glad they addressed it. Final one for us, Keith. I wanted to ask you and the people out there listening and watching, and they've been so great with their comments, leaving comments, whether it's on YouTube or especially on social media when they address this. Do you have a sleeper team in the Eastern Conference? That's what I wanted to ask you. Ask the team out there, ask the folks out there, a sleeper team in the East as the Sixers battle through the East in the coming season. We'll get to that next final episode, right? Final segment, not the final episode. We still got plenty of those next right here, Locked On 76ers. All right, welcome back. Locked On 76ers, Keith Pompey. I'm Devon Givens. Keith, as this season gets underway and another deep run we hope for the 76ers, deeper run. There's some good teams, some good moves made by some squads out there. Do you have a sleeper team in the Eastern Conference? Now, I'll let you explain more the sleeper part of it. Do they have to be? Can they be a playoff team from last year, but more so at the bottom, or what do you think?
I think what we should do is maybe a team that we think that can make the playoffs and probably, pull off a quality upset. You know what I mean?
All right.
You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, a
Okay.
team like that. Yeah.
All right. Do you have one then? As I throw that at you.
You know what I do? I do have one, and I think that it's a team. I think it's the Washington Wizards. I do.
Really?
I think they could be a sleeper team this year. But what I mean is now for them, I'm not saying like a team that's going to knock off, go to the Eastern Conference Finals. I just feel like, the last 2 years or the year before last, they made the playoffs. They lost to the Sixers in the first round. And then after that, Bradley Beal was hurt. I feel like they signed Bradley Beal to the super max, right? But they also went out and made some off-season moves. And this is a team that, they looked at it, they got rid of Russell Westbrook. They acquired certain players for him. Well, they shipped those players for the most part were traded out, and they're bringing in additional players, right? So I think that, the Washington Wizards, I'm not saying they're going to be in that upper echelon, so to speak, but I look at them as a team that could, make the playoffs and be a bad matchup for a certain squad. Now, again, are they better than the Sixers? No, but I do think that they could be, I think that they could be a sleeper this year.
Okay. That's interesting. I didn't look at them as a playoff team. I still think they're away from that, but interesting because I do like the guards. I like Johnny Davis. They drafted out of Wisconsin, and obviously Bradley Beal, and maybe where you have someone like Rui Hachimura playing the entire season, he can get into it early on where he's not stepping in late. Kyle Kuzma, all the names that you mentioned. That's an interesting one. For me, I really didn't expect it, so that's an interesting one. I have the Cleveland Cavaliers, even though they did make the postseason and they fell out of the top 6 late. Getting Colin Sexton back, let's assume he does play. Colin Sexton back. You have year 2 of Darius Garland as an all-star level player if he's going to keep going. Year 2 of first-team all-rookie. With Evan Mobley and how good he was last year, both offensively and defensively, and bringing in someone like Robin Lopez to just be a backup and to Jared Allen, the All-Star from a year ago, Agbaji from Kansas, the guard, who I like. Now I don't know how much he'll play, but I do like him, and the depth that they have overall, mixture of youth and veterans on that basketball team. Keith, I think year 2, experiencing what the playoffs were all about, I like their chances and what they could potentially do in the Eastern Conference in an upsetting fashion, to your point of maybe being the top 16, but knocking somebody off at some point in that first round, getting to the second round, losing in that second round because the competition is just too much for them. But I think they will take that next step from where they were a season ago and be right back in it. But this time, I don't think they fall out of the top 6. Now, I understand that we're looking at, let's say, the Celtics, Bucks, and the Sixers. Then you have the Heat, Bulls, Raptors. That's 6 right there. We could probably say that they're more locked in. The Hawks go and get DeJounte Murray and keep some of the others. I'm looking at this one, and I'm saying I think Cleveland can battle with Atlanta, maybe even battle with Toronto for that 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. So that's what I'm going. I'm going with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, and here's one thing that's a good one. I think that they're a playoff team. But the thing is, the reason why I also picked the Wizards is because you remember they traded Caldwell Pope and Ish Smith to the Denver Nuggets for Will Barton and Monte Morris. And I think that Will Barton he's one of those guys who can be a solid scorer off the bench, or he can help out, playing alongside Bradley Beal.
As
And
a
I also
starter. As a starter.
He could. I mean, I think he's better suited for coming off the bench and getting buckets. And, he's a Baltimore kid, a Baltimore man who, is going to be playing close to home. And Monte Morris is a good guy, too. So that's the reason why, I feel like, they got rid of some of the guys who weren't exactly good locker room guys, and they're bringing these two guys in. And I just feel like with Bradley Beal coming back that they can be a sleeper squad, because let's face it, they were horrible last year.
Yes, they were. They've been horrible for the last couple of seasons. Even though they made the playoffs a couple of years with Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, they have not been a threatening team, if you will, in the Eastern Conference. Well, Keith, that'll do it for us, man. We got to thank everybody for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. Tomorrow, we'll catch up with you again on a Wednesday. Now make your second listen Locked On NBA, where Locked On experts covering the biggest stories around the NBA every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. Is free and available wherever you get your podcast. Keith, can you let the folks know where else they could find us?
Hey, like my man D just said, wherever you can get your podcast, you can get Locked On 76ers podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Also, if you want to get the Locked On 76ers YouTube channel, go to YouTube, click on, type up Locked On 76ers, and when you get into the podcast on the site, click onto the Liberty Bell, and that's one way you can subscribe to us. That is the way to subscribe. But you need to follow my man D for the rest of this week on NBC Sports Philadelphia on 97.5. He's doing the afternoon show from 2 to 6. That's the end of this week. Now, next week, he's going to go back to his normal time.
That's crazy, because I just got the schedule Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'll be doing the morning show.
Oh, my gosh. Really? Okay. Versatility. Yeah. So he's going to be doing the morning show Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Yeah. So that's from 6 to 10 in the mornings, right? And then what y'all need to do is, for the rest of the week, then to come back and do 6 to 10 in the evening for Thursday and Friday.
That's right.
Now, you can also follow my man D on Twitter. That's Devon G975. You can follow me on Twitter at Pompey on Sixers. I'm about to say 975, but you can follow me at Pompey on Sixers.
You're on there enough.
I'm on.
You're on the radio station enough. Yes.
I'm on vacation from my regular job, but we're going to get this podcast going, and also let you guys know, starting next week, we're going to drop down to 3 days a week with this podcast.
3 days a week. So I guess we'll be doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, something along those lines, or we'll figure it out as we go. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, listen, man, thanks as always. Enjoy your Tuesday. Folks out there, you enjoy your Tuesdays. And thanks so much for hanging out with us today. Thanks, Keith.
Thanks, man. All right, y'all. We'd like to thank y'all. Peace. Let me see what she wants.